The Montana winter had teeth that night, biting through Ethan's coat as he trudged through knee-deep snow, calling Max's name until his throat burned raw. One moment his golden retriever had been trotting beside him on their evening walk. The next he bolted into the swirling white void of the blizzard. Ignoring every desperate whistle and command, Ethan searched until numbness crept into his fingers and the beam of his flashlight grew weak. Finally, defeated, he stumbled back to his cabin alone for the first time in 3 years since Sarah's funeral. Since Max had become his only companion in this isolated corner of the world, the cabin felt enormous without the click of Max's nails on hardwood, without his warm bulk pressed against Ethan's legs as he stoked the fire. Ethan collapsed into his armchair, staring at the flames, seeing nothing. The wedding photo on the mantel seemed to judge him. First Sarah to cancer, now Max to his own carelessness. What kind of man couldn't protect the things he loved? He didn't sleep. Every creak of the cabin, every howl of wind sent him rushing to the window, hoping to see golden fur emerging from the darkness. Dawn broke gray and merciless, revealing nothing but an endless expanse of white. 3 days crawled past. Ethan posted flyers in town, called the sheriff, walked grid patterns through the forest until his legs trembled. The neighbors offered sympathetic looks that said what he already knew. No dog survived 3 nights in weather like this. On the 4th evening, Ethan sat before the fire again, Max's empty food bowl still in its place, unwashed. He just raised a glass of whiskey to his lips when the scratching came frantic, insistent, accompanied by a familiar whine that sent his heart leaping into his throat. He flew to the door, wrenching it open to find Max on the porch, frost clinging to his golden coat like diamonds. But Ethan's cry of relief died in his throat. Max wasn't alone. Behind him stood a figure that made Ethan's mind stumble over reality itself. She was tall, nearly 6 feet, with skin the deep navy blue of twilight, luminous and smooth as polished stone. Long blonde hair, so pale it was nearly white, whipped in the wind around delicate features that were almost human but not quite, eyes slightly too large, irises the color of amethyst, cheekbones just a touch too high. She wore what looked like a silver flight suit, torn and scorched, and she swayed dangerously on legs that seemed barely able to support her. Thin silver cord connected her wrist to Max's collar like a leash. Though Ethan couldn't tell who was leading whom, her amethyst eyes met his. And in them he saw something achingly familiar, the hollow devastation of someone who'd lost everything. Then she collapsed. Ethan caught her before she hit the porch, surprised by how light she felt despite her height. Her skin was ice cold against his hands, and he could feel her trembling like a trapped bird. Max barked urgently, nudging Ethan's leg. "Okay, boy, okay, I've got her." He carried her inside, kicking the door shut against the wind. The firelight seemed to make her navy skin shimmer with subtle iridescence, and he forced himself to focus on practicalities rather than impossibilities. Whatever she was freezing to death. Ethan laid her on the couch, piling every blanket he owned over her shaking form. Max immediately jumped up, curling against her side with a protectiveness that was almost comical. When Ethan tried to examine the burns on her suit, Max growled. "Traitor," Ethan muttered, but he couldn't help smiling. At least someone in this cabin still had something to live for. He built up the fire until it roared, then heated milk for Coco, the sweet, simple comfort Sarah had always made him when Montana winters got too harsh. As he worked, he kept glancing back at his unexpected guest, half convinced she'd vanished like a fever dream, but she remained solidly real, her breathing gradually steadying as warmth seeped back into her. After 20 minutes, those remarkable amethyst eyes fluttered open, focusing on him with startling clarity. "You saved me," she whispered, her voice melodic despite its weakness, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. She spoke English, though with an accent he couldn't place too fluid, too rhythmic. "Max saved you," Ethan corrected, approaching slowly with a mug of cocoa. "I just provided the real estate. Can you sit up? This'll help warm you." She struggled upright, and he noticed how her blonde hair seemed to catch and hold the firelight, creating a halo effect that made his breath catch. She accepted the mug with both hands, navy fingers wrapping around the ceramic as if it were the most precious thing in the universe. "Thank you," she breathed, inhaling the steam. When she sipped, her eyes widened with something like wonder. "This is beautiful, sweet, comforting." She looked at him over the rim. "Like you." Heat crept up Ethan's neck. I'm Ethan Cross. And you are?" "Sillara." She pronounced it with 3 distinct syllables. Sillar, ah. "Of the Constellation Fleet, or I was before." Her expression crumbled, and Ethan recognized that look instantly. He'd worn it himself in every mirror for months after Sarah died. "Before you lost someone," he said quietly. Her amethyst eyes snapped to his, suddenly glistening. "How did you know?" "Takes one to know one." He settled into the armchair across from her, while Max sprawled contentedly between them. "You don't have to talk about it. But you're safe here, Sillara. For as long as you need." She studied him with an intensity that made him feel transparent, as if those alien eyes could read the grief written in his bones. Finally, she nodded. "The war came without warning. My mate Torin commanded the defense of our colony world. When they broke through," her voice fractured, "the escape pod was meant for 2. He pushed me inside. Sealed it. I screamed for him, but the launch sequence was already engaged. I watched my world burn as I fled." "A coward. A survivor," Ethan corrected firmly. Over the next few days, an odd domesticity settled over the cabin. Silara's burns healed with startling speed, apparently. Her species regenerated faster than humans, though she still tired easily. Ethan gave her his room and took the couch, ignoring her protests. Max, the little traitor, had fully adopted her as his new favorite person. Ethan found himself studying her when he thought she wasn't looking. The way her navy skin shifted subtly in different lights, from deep midnight to storm cloud gray. How her blonde hair seemed to defy normal physics, floating slightly as if underwater. The graceful alienness of her movements, like a dancer who'd learned in different gravity dot, and then there were moments when he'd catch her watching him with equal curiosity when he chopped firewood, when he cooked dinner, when he absently scratched behind Max's ears. Her gaze felt almost physical, and it awakened something in him that had been dormant for 3 long years. "Your people don't cook their own food?" he asked one evening, acutely aware of her standing close behind him as he stirred pasta sauce. "We have replicators, instant nutrition." She leaned past him, inhaling deeply, and he caught a scent like ozone and jasmine. "But this, the process, the care, the anticipation, you make feeding yourself an act of love? Is that the word?" "That's one word for it." He offered her the wooden spoon. "Want to try?" Her navy fingers brushed his as she took it, and electricity sparked up his arm. She stirred experimentally, completely focused, the tip of her tongue surprisingly pink caught between her teeth. Ethan's mouth went dry. "Like this?" she asked, glancing up at him through pale lashes. They were suddenly very close. He could count the subtle variations of blue in her skin, see flecks of violet in her amethyst eyes. She smelled like winter starlight. "Perfect," he managed. A slow smile curved her lips. "You're staring, Ethan Cross. You're extraordinary." Hard not to stare. The smile widened, revealing teeth that were just slightly too white, too perfect. "In my culture, prolonged eye contact indicates interest, desire. Is it the same for humans?" His heart hammered. "Pretty much, yeah. Good." She didn't look away. Then you should know I've been staring at you quite a lot when you weren't looking. Your species is fascinating, especially you. Solara, the way you move. So solid, so grounded. Your planet has stronger gravity than mine, and you don't even notice. Your strength is... She reached up, fingers hovering near his jaw. May I? He could only nod. Her touch was feather-light, tracing the stubble along his chin, the line of his cheekbone. Her navy skin against his looked like night sky meeting earth. You're warm. Always warm. It's addictive. You're pretty warm yourself now. His voice sounded rough. From the fire. From you. She was definitely flirting now, eyes dancing with something playful. My people can sense emotions as temperature. Since I arrived, you've been burning like a star. Grief, yes. Loneliness. But also... Her thumb brushed his lower lip. This. Whatever this is between us. He caught her hand gently, pressing it against his chest where his heart raced. I lost my wife 3 years ago. I thought I was done feeling anything like this. My maid died 2 months ago. Her expression sobered. I thought I'd died with him. But then Max found me. She glanced at the dog, who watched them with what looked suspiciously like satisfaction, and led me to you. Perhaps the universe isn't quite finished with us yet. That night, after dinner, Solara asked to see the stars. The blizzard had finally cleared, leaving a sky so crystalline it looked close enough to touch. Ethan bundled her in one of his coats comically large on her slender frame and led her to the clearing behind his cabin. Max bounding ahead through the snow. Oh, Solara breathed, and her voice carried such longing that Ethan ached for her. I'd almost forgotten how beautiful they are from the surface. Which one is yours? Your home world? She pointed to a constellation he didn't recognize. Beyond what you can see. Beyond what even your telescopes have mapped. It's called Asara. Fields of crystal flowers that sing in the wind. 3 moons that rise in sequence, each a different color. The capital city is built from living stone that glows at night. Her voice broke. Was built. It's ash now. Ethan moved closer, their shoulders touching. Tell me something good. A happy memory. She was quiet for a long moment, breath fogging in the cold air. Torin and I used to climb the tallest tower at sunset, just to watch the triple moon rise together. He'd hold my hand and say he was the luckiest man on any world because he got to stand beside me every day. She looked at Ethan, eyes shimmering. How do you survive it? The loss? Honestly, I didn't for a long time. I came out here to hide from the world, and I might have stayed hidden forever if Max hadn't decided otherwise. He smiled at the dog, who was currently creating snow angels with enthusiastic wiggling. Turns out sometimes survival means accepting help you didn't ask for. From golden-furred matchmakers with questionable timing? Exactly. She laughed the first time he'd heard it, and the sound was like bells. He's very proud of himself, you know. I can sense it. He thinks he solved both our problems. Has he? Solara turned to face him fully, navy skin luminous in the starlight. I don't know. Have you solved mine? The tension stretched between them like a wire, humming with possibility. Ethan reached up slowly, giving her every chance to pull away, and tucked a strand of platinum blonde hair behind her elegantly pointed ear. I'd like to try, he said quietly. If you'll let me. Her breath hitched. Ethan, I can't stay forever. Once my distress beacon is repaired, my fleet will come for me. I have duties, responsibilities. This is, I know. And he had known from the moment he saw her. This was borrowed time, a gift he hadn't earned. But I've learned something about loss, Solara. It doesn't get lighter. You just get stronger. And maybe we could help each other get stronger together. For however long we have. She studied his face for what felt like an eternity. Then, with movements as deliberate as his had been, she cupped his cheek in her navy palm. "Your species is remarkable," she whispered. "You know heartbreak so well, yet you still choose to risk it again. Where I come from, we're taught that losing a mate means never loving again. That opening yourself to that pain twice is illogical." "Is that what you believe?" "I believed it. Until I met a grieving widower who took in a frozen alien without hesitation. Who makes food with care. Who looks at me like I'm not broken." Her thumb traced his cheekbone. "You make me want to be illogical, Ethan Cross." He turned his head just enough to press a kiss to her palm. Her skin tasted like ozone and snow. "Then be illogical with me." She closed the distance between them, and when their lips met, it felt like coming home and launching into space simultaneously. She was cool silk and electric current, familiar and utterly alien. His hands found her waist, pulling her closer, and she sighed into his mouth, fingers tangling in his hair. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Max barked approvingly and buried them in a spray of snow. The repair work on Solara's distress beacon took 2 weeks. 2 weeks of teaching her to cook his grandmother's recipes, of her explaining the mathematics behind faster-than-light travel while he nodded and pretended to understand. 2 weeks of curling together on the couch while she told him stories of her world and he shared. Memories of Sarah Grief, no longer a wall between them but a bridge. 2 weeks of kisses that grew less tentative, touches that lingered longer, of waking to find her watching the sunrise through the window. Navy skin painted rose gold by the dawn. 2 weeks of falling impossibly, illogically in love. "The signal strength is optimal," Solara announced one morning, setting down her modified tablet. She didn't sound triumphant. She sounded devastated. "My fleet should receive it within hours." Ethan had been expecting this, had braced for it, but the words still hit like a blow. Max, sensing the mood, whined and pressed against his leg. "So this is it. This is it." She crossed to him, taking his hands. "Ethan, I don't." He squeezed her fingers. "Don't apologize. I knew what this was from the beginning. Did you?" Her amethyst eyes searched his. "Because I didn't. I thought this was temporary shelter from grief. I didn't expect to find you." She pressed his hand over her heart, and he could feel it racing. "In my culture, we believe in Kestara, the resonance of souls. It's rare, precious. Most people never experience it. But when you do, it changes you at a molecular level. You become more, together. Solara, what I'm trying to say very badly is that I love you." The words tumbled out in a rush. "I love your kindness and your strength, and the way you hum while cooking and how you talk to Max like he understands every word. I love that you see me, not the alien or the widow or the burden, but me. And leaving you feels like being torn in half." Ethan pulled her close, burying his face in her hair. "I love you too. God help me, I do. But you have responsibilities. Your people need you. I know." She was crying now, tears tracking down her navy cheeks. "But I need you." They stood there, holding each other as if they could stop time through sheer force of will. Outside, the first truly warm day of spring was dawning. Inside, winter clung stubbornly on. The sound of approaching engines broke them apart hours later. Through the window, Ethan saw something that looked like a silver teardrop descending from the clouds, sleek and utterly alien. "They're here," Solara whispered. The goodbye was brutal in its simplicity. At the edge of the clearing, surrounded by her crew, all of them navy-skinned and blonde, all of them studiously giving their commander privacy, Solara held Ethan's face between her hands. "Thank you," she said, "for reminding me that the universe still holds beauty. For being the warmth in my winter. Thank you for letting a lonely old widower remember what it feels like to be alive. You're not old." She kissed him soft and lingering. And this isn't goodbye forever. I swear it. Somehow, someway, Solara, you can't promise that. Watch me. Her smile was fierce. I'm a fleet commander. I didn't survive a war just to lose this. To lose you. She knelt, hugging Max tightly. Take care of him, brave one. You brought me to him once. Maybe you can do it again. Then she was walking away, silver flight suit stark against the snow. At the ship's ramp, she turned back one last time, raising her hand. Ethan raised his in return, watching as she disappeared inside. The ship lifted with a sound like singing, rising toward the stars that were just beginning to appear in the twilight sky. Max whined, pawing at Ethan's leg. He picked up the silver leash that Solara had left behind the one Max had used to guide her through the storm and wrapped it carefully around his hand. Yeah, boy, he said quietly. I miss her too. 3 months passed. Spring turned to summer, and Ethan fell back into his routines, though the cabin felt emptier than it ever had before. He kept the silver leash on the mantel next to Sarah's photo, a reminder that he'd been lucky enough to love, and be loved twice in one lifetime. Then came the evening when Max started barking frantically at the door. Ethan opened it to find a familiar silver ship settling into his clearing. And walking down the ramp, navy skin radiant in the golden hour light, blonde hair streaming behind her like a victory banner, was Solara. She was carrying 2 duffel bags and wearing a smile that outshone the sun. The war's over, she called. Peace accords were signed. My people are rebuilding, but they don't need a military commander anymore. She dropped the bags, suddenly uncertain. They need teachers, diplomats, cultural ambassadors. And Earth needs someone to facilitate first contact with friendly species. Someone who already understands both worlds. The position is based in Montana, actually. Funny how that worked out. Ethan couldn't move, couldn't breathe. Could only stare as she walked toward him. So I was thinking, Solara continued, voice shaking slightly. If the offer's still open, if you still want someone illogical in your life, maybe we could try this. Really try it. Not just borrowed time, but a future. Together. He met her halfway, catching her in his arms, and when he kissed her it tasted like hope. Max barked triumphantly, spinning in circles around them. Good boy, Ethan murmured against Solara's lips. Very good boy. And in the Montana twilight, as the first stars appeared overhead, 2 widows who'd thought they'd lost their chance at happiness discovered that sometimes the universe, with a little help from a very clever golden retriever, delivers exactly the love you need. Right when you need it most.